the topic du jour of the day, Jake. And I do think if this wasn't happening in real time, we probably would spend most of this first hour just straight up talking Guardians. But because it's a quarterback conversation and because it's a quarterback controversy, I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least get to this here early on in the show. And so Kevin Stefanski spoke to the media today and about an hour ago on his annual Monday Zoom press conference and was asked on 3 different occasions. I know because I was in the Zoom. Are you sticking with Joe Flacco? What's your plan at quarterback, essentially? And this is the first answer that he gave when he was asked about Joe Flacco.
Hey, Kevin, just following up on yesterday. Are you sticking with Joe?
Yeah, I understand the question, Scott. We have to play better as an offense. We have to coach better on offense. It's not about one person. There are so many things that we need to do better, and obviously quarterback included, but this is not about one person.
Is that a yes then? I mean, are you sticking with him?
Yeah, my focus is on making sure this offense plays better.
First of all, I love Scott just being like, so
Was that a
yes then?
The correct proper response, by the way, because he went, yeah, I understand the question, but here's something that has nothing to do with the quarterback. And he goes, so was that did I get an answer there? Like, did I miss something?
The number of times that my wife has said something to me and I've just kind of grumbled yeah. And she's like, so is that a yes then? Like, I've heard that question before. I know that question. And Kevin Stefanski's answer was not very adequate in giving us a sense of where he's at with the quarterback situation, but also very non-committal, which is the thing everyone's reading into. There was also a third time that he was asked about Joe Flacco, and here's what he said the third time.
Kevin, your answer about Flacco, should we assume that a change is possible and you're just not willing to address it at this time?
Yeah, I just would tell you, I understand the question, and I understand the scrutiny that comes with the position, but we have to play better as an offense. We have to do a better job at all positions, including coaching. That's really what I want to get across.
We know Kevin Stefanski says nothing. How are you reading into or trying to decipher what he's trying to say without saying it with his answer to this question? Do you think a quarterback change is coming?
I have to say yes. We go back to last week, and I get it. You got the win. You're much less likely to make a quarterback change after picking up a win. Kevin didn't hesitate last week. Kevin literally went, after the game, Joe's our starter, asked again on Monday, Joe's our starter this week. No questions asked. He's going to be in the game against the Lions. This is the complete opposite. It's, oh, you asked me a question about the quarterback? I have nothing for you. We have to get better at coaching. We have to get better as an offense. We have to do everything else. He literally avoided talking quarterback as much as possible. He avoided saying the word quarterback in that sentence. That to me is, when I compare the two, an indication that you're looking to make a change, at least considering it.
So this was Kevin Stefanski last week when asked about the potential quarterback switch. A very short clip here, but this is what he said last week.
Even though it was a tough game for Joe in the offense, you're sticking with Joe going forward.
Yes.
So to your point, he was a lot more committal. But I do feel like I recall after the Ravens game, he was asked about it after the Ravens game, and it was a similar answer to what he said today. Or I guess what he said after the game yesterday. And then the follow-up that Monday at the Zoom press conference was very similar and hey, so are you sticking with Joe? And it was a very similar answer of that's not where my focus is. The common theme from all of his answers when it comes to the quarterback situation has been, that's not where my focus is, that's not where our focus is. And so I look for something that's different when to sort of decide if he's hinting at a change or not hinting at a change. And I understand what it looks like. I understand with him not committing to Flacco the way he did so adamantly last week, you can assume that it's at least on the table or it's being discussed or whatever. I just don't think that they're going to make a change this week specifically. And I will explain why coming up, because there are I understand there's never perfect circumstances to maybe start a guy, but I think there's one specific circumstance about this week that is the biggest deterrent in trying to put a rookie out there too soon. And I have some thoughts on what he's trying to say when he talks about the offense being better and what he's trying to, I think, deflect from. So, but it sounds like we feel differently about this because you think it could happen this week, Wednesday. He might announce it on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I think to the point of that, even going into the Packers game week 3, we got the report Sunday morning, multiple reports saying that Kevin and Tanya Reese actually did deliberate a quarterback change after the Ravens game. Now, we haven't had those validated. We don't know that for a fact, but there were reports floating out there that they did debate it, and that was the non-committal answer once again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 216-474-9992. Do you think the Browns are poised to make a quarterback change this week, maybe as soon as Wednesday when Kevin Stefanski next talks to us in the media? I say no. Jake says yes. Here's the thing. And I want to be clear here. It's not that I don't think a quarterback change needs to happen at some point. It's not that I don't think it's worth giving it a shot. I mean, I was somebody banging the drum for these rookies should start week 1, theoretically. But I knew the team wasn't going to just throw in the towel on the season and say, well, that's it. That soon. So they went with Flacco. Okay, fine. I've been hearing some of the takes on, like, I think they ultimately wanted Kenny Pickett to be their starter. And then because he got hurt, they had to pivot to Flacco. And then the trade value was there to get the 5th-round pick back that they lost for him and all that. So they just did it. And that's kind of unfortunate how that all played out because they needed to have their quarterback situation settled. And so it ended up being Flacco. So maybe they didn't necessarily want Flacco to start the season anyway. I get all that. Fine. But once you committed to Flacco and that was the decision, I think we understood why that was the decision. It was like, okay, 6 games of the season, they're tough. You're trying to get off to a good start. You're trying to sell the locker room on like, hey, we're trying to win football games. And after training camp, there was an argument to be made that like Flacco did give you the best chance to win. I mean, he was really good in training camp, especially at the tail end. Those joint practices with the Eagles, he was brilliant. But so it's not that I don't think a quarterback change is coming. I think we've all known that was going to be the case. We knew Flacco wasn't going to play all 17 games. The reason I don't think it's going to happen this week, though, centers mostly around the fact that it's the circumstances of the game. You're going to London. You are flying halfway across the world to go play this game. And I just think, now maybe the Browns don't care about that because they didn't set DTR up for a lot of success the first time he started either, telling him the day of that he was going to start. But I just think Kevin Stefanski's preached throughout training camp and all that they're taking these guys' development very seriously, and clearly they've been trying to be patient with them to as much as they can be and responsible about it. It doesn't feel very responsible to me for a guy who's still in what? This is his 5th game that he's ever prepared for in his life as an NFL quarterback, and he's still kind of getting used to just like how the week kind of goes. And now in 2 days, you're going to pack everything up and fly him across the globe, and his body clock's going to be all off, and the practice schedule is going to be all thrown off, and you're going to say, hey, go out there and win us a football game. I also think the Vikings are a game that the Browns can win, potentially with Flacco even at quarterback, because their offensive line is a disaster right now. You think the Browns' offensive line is bad? The Vikings' offensive line might be worse. And this is a game where like the defensive line could almost single-handedly like win you the game, and maybe Flacco ekes it out because he does just enough on offense. So I just don't know. As much as I understand a quarterback change is coming and a quarterback change is imminent and a quarterback change is probably necessary in the very, very near future, I just don't know if this week makes the most sense for it to be the week that it happens.
But at what point do you prioritize the development of the young players? I'm not saying to like throw that away, but at what point do you also prioritize the ability for the team to win? Because you just laid it out. Like, well, Vikings offensive line's a mess. The defense can basically single-handedly win you with that. We've been banking on the defense to basically single-handedly win his games for the first 4 weeks while Joe's looked like garbage. Like, I mean, respectfully, hasn't looked good in a single game that he's played. Week 1, is okay. But like, the last 3 weeks have been disastrous. At what point does the sell of the locker room stop being, oh, well, we have 40-year-old Joe, and Joe's a veteran, and Joe's done this before, and all of these guys, a lot of them younger, sitting there looking at it going, old man doesn't have it. Like, they're continuously rolling out the guy. Sure, he's had success in the NFL. Probably would be a really good coach right about now. But he does not have it when he's throwing the football. Because there's multiple plays, even in that Lions game, where, yes, Joe did not get great protection. Obviously, there were guys dropping footballs. But, like, there were times where I'm watching Joe sit there, pump fake, try to move around, not do enough, not get rid of the ball quickly. It's the same things we've been talking about week to week. I mean, the conversation on the Browns somehow going, even after a win into a loss, has become stale because it's, well, the defense did their part, right? Defense showed up today. Offense crumbles once again. Like, at what point does just throwing Dillon Gabriel out there into the game actually make more sense for your chance to win? And, like, you want to talk about prepared. Like, Dillon's played more college games than any college quarterback in the history of the game.
That's fair.
So from a football perspective, he should be prepared. They say he has computer-like processing power. Everything that he needs to, quote-unquote, protect himself in this offense, as good as it's going to get, like, Dillon should be the guy prepared to do that.
I'm glad you brought up the point on the locker room and selling them on winning, because I do think that has to be it. I think ultimately for Kevin Stefanski, that's at the heart of, like, every decision he makes until the season gets to you're not even close to mathematically eliminated at 1-3. Like you could win next week and then be 2-3, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, yeah, we'll talk ourselves into getting to 3-3 against the Steelers next week. Like, so of course, like I think he makes these decisions with the thought process of what's best for the team right now to win football games. I don't think coaches think, maybe some do. I don't think Kevin Stefanski thinks about tanking and all that. So yes, at some point, I'm sure the decision would just straight up be time to see what the rookies can do. I don't think that's now. It would be about winning if he makes that decision, yes. But I'm glad you brought that up because that's where I think Kevin introducing this week in his answer about the quarterback change, you heard it, we all heard it, him saying the line about my focus is on getting this offense to play better football. And how he continues to say, which he said yesterday after the game, and he said it again today, it's never about one person. Him saying those two things, I think, is his qualifier that he understands that it's not just Joe Flacco's fault, that the locker room understands that it's not just Joe Flacco's fault. And people like Joel Bitonio, who talk after games all the time, they give credence to that as well because they sit there and say, like, yeah, we're just not getting it done up front. We're just not blocking very well. And I think that so to me, you're asking, like, at what point does he have to do his best for the locker room? At what point does the locker room understand, like, Flacco just doesn't have it? I think right now the locker room's looking and saying, well, we're all playing like crap. I mean, Jerry Jeudy went on a profanity-laced tirade yesterday about how he needs to catch that ball on 3rd and 7, and that actually ended up changing the game because after that, it's the punt return, and then you're down 3 scores, and you knew the game was over at that point. Like, so I think the receivers know they've been bad. The offensive line knows it's been bad. Everyone across the board pretty much knows they've been bad. So it's hard for, I think, that locker room to turn around and be like, what the hell is this guy doing? He can't move in the pocket right now, which is why I think Kevin Stefanski added that to his answer today and yesterday. And I know that people are going to read into those things. And yes, he was non-committal. Last week, he was very committal. Like you said, after a win, it's easy to do that. But I still just think that cooler heads prevail here in the idea of like, hey, we're going across the pond. It doesn't make sense to start Dillon Gabriel this week. But my feeling is this is it for Flacco. Like, this is the last straw. Even if they go over there and they win, if the offense still looks inept, I think all bets are off when you come back. Even understanding it's Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh after that in week 6, you got to throw your best laid plans out the window at that point and understand, like, this might be the time now to start this quarterback. He'll have a normal week. We'll get back. We'll get him ready. And then we'll be off and running to Pittsburgh, even though we don't win there very often. I think that's more so the thought process that needs to happen here. And to your point, too, like, you want to talk about everyone keeps bringing up the point that Dillon Gabriel will be more mobile in the pocket. Yes, 100% true. But how often is that really equated to like a rookie just like taking off and soaring behind this offensive line? Like, look what's happening to CJ Stroud. People are worried that the Texans are ruined, and they just traded another offensive lineman away, by the way. They're worried that CJ Stroud is going to get ruined because he has a terrible offensive line in front of him. So I don't know that it's just as easy as like, well, hey, he can move around, so he'll get away from those guys that are bearing down on him. It could also have the opposite effect, and he could just absolutely be awful because he has no time to throw the football, and he's panicked because he's a rookie and he's in the pocket.
Yeah, but I think that there's so many more things that you can do with even a slightly mobile quarterback. Right? I can actually move the pocket, like, entirely, like the design of the play with Dillon Gabriel being the height that he's at. I can move the pocket, which if I need to move it away from the guy who's terrorizing my right or my left tackle, I can do that. Like, if we go into Pittsburgh and I'm playing TJ Watt, I go, TJ Watt's going to be coming off the right side. Why don't we just move the pocket to the left? Force CJ to run as far as he has to, give Dillon as much time as possible to actually get rid of the football. Can't do that with Joe Flacco. You try to move the pocket to the left. Joe's going to get caught. Joe might stumble over his own feet. He might have to have the walker out there in front of him to stay upright at that point. But, like, I hate the idea of waiting for the perfect moment. Like, there is no sense in me because every single time you go through a football season, there will never be a perfect moment for Dillon Gabriel.
Well, and I listen, I hear you on that point, and you're largely right. Like, it's never going to be the perfect situation to put a rookie out there in most cases. My argument for this week, though, is like this is something that you kind of can control. Like, next week, like if it was a normal week, it'd be different. It's like, okay, so what if the Vikings are on the schedule and they have a really good defense or whatever, and they're coming into your build? Like, you can make up all sorts of reasons why it's not a perfect scenario for any team, but this is one that's like extremely different than like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
like,
I see it.
This is a completely different thing than just like a normal week of NFL football, and I just don't know if it makes sense.
The other side of it is like, okay, so you went to London, now you have to come back from London. Everyone's going to be jet lagged once again. So as much as it's a normal week, it's really not a normal week.
Well, but
it
will be by the time they get back, though, because they'll start practice on Wednesday, and by then you have like 2 days to kind of get yourself back on your body clock, and then it's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can prepare him for a game against the Steelers. That's all.
And then you're on the road against the Steelers, a great defense where you typically don't win, and then you come back the next week. Who knows what the health of the offensive line with? We don't have Cedric Tillman right now.
Well, actually, the next week after that's like the best week to start Dillon Gabriel, in my opinion, because the Dolphins are awful, and they might not have a coach by then. So who even knows?
Yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. Though there's circumstances like maybe you lose, but. Knock on wood. Hopefully this isn't a thing, but like maybe you lose Joe Bitonio that game, and then your left side just completely made up, and it's like now I have
bad
nothing.
omens on Joe Bitonio.
No,
come on, man.
I knocked on wood.
Came back.
I knocked on wood.
He came back to try to win this season.
Would you feel better if I said Wyatt Teller? Would you feel better if I said Ethan?
Doesn't better if you said, well, no, that's mean. I'm not going to do that. That's mean.
It doesn't make you feel any better, really, if you lose any of the interior guys. But I'm just saying, like, you could be down another 2 offensive linemen. It's like, well, we can't put Dillon in. You can always find an excuse, or you're not going to have Cedric Tillman, and maybe, you've been trying to play Gage Larvadan and fill the role, or Jamari Thrash, and he's looked horrible up to this point. Like, you can always make an excuse. I'm sick of waiting for the perfect moment.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel Dillon Gabriel's ready and you made him the backup quarterback, that to me is at least some sort of signifier that you feel that he's ready if he has to step into a football game. They've played him twice in an NFL game already. You feel like he's ready to operate. It's like, you don't have to find the perfect moment. None of these quarterbacks step in and typically light the world on fire week 1 and just keep that lighting the world on fire for the rest of the season. They're going to have bad weeks. If it's week 1, so be it. Get that out of the way as early as possible.
It's a weird place for me to live right now with this conversation because everything you're saying is valid. And honestly, the best point I think you make, Jake, is no, you don't. He might still struggle behind this offensive line just purely standing in the pocket. But hey, we saw what Kevin Stefanski did with Baker Mayfield early on in his tenure here. You can move the pocket. You can roll him out. Those are things that are kind of staples of Kevin Stefanski's offense anyway. So maybe he wants to do more of that. And so sure, put Dillon Gabriel out there for those reasons. I get it. So it's not that I think that these aren't valid things that should be talked about. And it's not that I think there's a perfect situation. I don't even, to be clear, I don't think Pittsburgh's a perfect situation the week after. No. But I also can recognize, I just think this week it is such an extenuating circumstance surrounding this game specifically that it would be doing a disservice to somebody like Dillon Gabriel as a rookie that you're putting him out there, which is why I think it's coming. I think the decision is coming. I just don't think it's going to be this week. But again, I subscribe to everything you're saying. We have a bunch of people lined up on the phones. We're going to get to your calls, I promise you. If any of you call in with any of the argument that Jake just made, I agree with you. I just don't think, if the Browns are being honest about we are prioritizing their development, we want to set them up for success, all those things, I don't know if flying your team halfway across the globe with different body clock, different practice schedule, all that, after he's trying to adjust to an NFL schedule as is, and he's been going nonstop, by the way, since the Combine back in January and February, training for all that, is the best time to throw him out there. It's an extenuating circumstance around this game specifically that gives me pause to think he's actually going to make the change.
I feel like I could make the pushback. I don't think Joe's ever played in London heavy. I don't think he's ever played a London game.
That takes some deep research here, Jake, so I'm going to have to figure that out for you. I don't know. But I don't know. They've been doing London games for a while, but I guess maybe at some point when he was with the Ravens that happened. I doubt since he's been with the Jets and the Broncos and all that it's happened, but I don't know. But
same thing. Okay, now you have a 40-year-old quarterback who's done things the same way his entire career, and now you're throwing a wrench into the fact that he has to travel across the change his body clock, everything else, right?
That's maybe the golden question. Is it harder for a 40-year-old to adjust his body clock or what is Dillon Gabriel, 25-year-old to adjust his body clock?